Fala aí, pessoal, nós estamos aqui. Não, nesse aqui não. Esse aqui, The White Riders, Chapter 5. Fala aí, pessoal, nós estamos aqui. Rapidamente, acho que é interessante fazer uma live ao vivo. Não, fazer ao vivo aqui uma leitura logo no início de sábado. Já são 8 horas, 8h30. Aproveitar logo o dia cedo. Já tomei café. This is it. Já tá gravando já? Está gravando já. Estou aqui com um trecho do livro, o segundo livro do Senhor dos Anéis, The Two Towers, As Duas Torres. Eu acredito que o microfone esteja legal para ouvir. E vamos testar aqui. Eu coloquei uma trilha sonora do Senhor dos Anéis. Espero que combine com o mesmo momento mais tranquilo, não tão intenso, não tão épico em alguns momentos. Olha lá. The White Rider. Olha lá. The White Rider. My very bones are chilled, said Gimli, flapping his arms and slapping. Não, de novo. My very bones are chilled, said Gimli, flapping his arms and stamping his feet. They had come at last. At dawn, when the companion had made such a breakfast as they could, now in the growing light they were getting ready to search the ground again for sight of the hobbits. Será que tá muito alta a trilha sonora? Acho que tá alta a trilha sonora, né? Deixa eu diminuir um pouquinho. Tem que ser bastante tranquilo. Vou deixar um pouquinho mais baixo. Vamos lá. De novo. My very bones are chilled, I say Gimli, flapping his arms and stamping his feet. They had come at last. At dawn, the companion had made such a breakfast as they could. Now in the growing light they were getting ready for search the ground again for sight of the hobbits. And do not forget what the old man said, Gimli. I should be happier if I could see the print of boots. Why would that make you happy, said Legolas? Because an old man with feet that leave marks might be no more than he seems, answered the dwarf. Maybe, said the elf, but a heavy boot might leave the print here, and the grass is deep and springy. That would not baffle a ranger, said Gimli. A bent blade is enough for Aragorn to read, but I do not expect him to find any trace. It was an evil fender of the Saruman that we saw last night, I am sure of it. Even under the light of the morning, his eyes are looking out on us from Arngor, even now maybe. It is like enough, said Aragorn. Yet I am not sure. I'm thinking of the horses. You said last night, Gimli, that they were scared away, but I did not think so. Did you hear them, Legolas? Did they sound to you like beasts in terror? No, said Legolas. I heard them clearly, but for the darkness and by our own fears, I should have guessed that they were beasts, wild with some sudden gladness. They spoke of horses when they meet a friend that they have gone missed. Tem que melhorar a leitura. So I thought, said Aragorn, but I cannot read the riddle unless they return. Come, the light is glowing fast. Let us look first and guess later. We should be in here, near to our own camping ground, searching carefully all about, and working up the slope towards the forest to find the hobbit is our errand. Whatever we may think of our visitors in the night, if they escape by some chance, they must have hidden in the trees, or they would have been seen. If we might nothing between here and the edge of the wood, then we will make a last search upon the battlefields and among the ashes. But there is a little hope here. There, the horsemen of Horan did their works too well. Essa parte toda aqui é do Gimli conversando com Legolas, eles acordando junto com o Aragorn discutindo sobre as possibilidades deles conseguirem continuar tracking, conseguindo continuar rastreando todo o percurso que os orcs eles percorreram à frente, carregando os dois hobbits, o Pippin e o Merry, e eles estão tentando recuperar. E estão dizendo lá que é difícil de perceber a marca dos pés dos hobbits, né? Onde que houve uma batalha lá. For some time the companion crawled and grouped upon the ground. Right? For some time the companion crawled and grouped upon the ground. The tree stood mournfully above them. Its dry leaf now hanging limp, and the rain rattling in the chill instantly wind. Não, de novo, vai lá. For some time the companion crawled and grouped upon the ground. The tree stood mournfully above them, its dry leaf now hanging limp, and the rattling in the chill instantly wind. Aragorn moved slowly away. He came to the edge of the watchfire near the river bank, and then began to retrace the ground back towards the knoll where the battle had been fought. Suddenly, he stood and bent low with his face almost in the grass. Tentando ouvir, né? Then he called to the others. They came running up. Here, at the last we find news, said Aragorn. He lifted up and broken leaf for them to see, a large bale of leaf of golden hue, now fading and turning brown. Here's a marlon leaf of the Lothian, and then are small crumbs on it, and a few more crumbs in the grass. And see, there are some pieces of cut cord lying nearby. And here's the knife that cut them, said Gimli. He stood and drew out of this tussock, I never seen this word before, tussock, into which some heavy foot had trembled it, a short jagged blade, then half from which it had been snapped was beside it. It was an arc weapon, he said, holding it gingerly, and looking with disgust at the carven handle. It had been shaped like a Hydra's head, with its squinting eyes and the leering mouth. Well, he is the strangest hero that we have yet found, exclaimed Legolas. Our bound prisoner escaped both from the orcs and from the surrounding horsemen. He then stops while still in the open and cut his bound with the orc knife. But now and why? For if his leg were tied, now did he walk? And if his arms were tied, how did he use the knife? And if neither were tied, why did he cut the cords at all? Being pleased by his skill, he then sat down and quickly ate some whey bread. That at least is enough to show that he was a hobbit without the marlony leaf. After that, I suppose, he turned his arm into wings and flew away, sink into the trees. It should be easy to find him. We only need the wings ourselves. There was a sorcery here right enough, said Gimli. What was that old man doing? And what have you to say, Aragorn, to the reading of the Legolas? Can you better it? Maybe I could, said Aragorn, smiling. There are some other sights near at hand that you have not considered. I agree that the prisoner was a hobbit and I must have had either legs or hands freed before he came here. I guess that it was hands, because the riddles then becomes easier, and also because as I read their marks and he was carried to his point by an orc. Blood was spilled there, and a few paces away an orc blurred. There are deep prints of hoof all about his spot, and sign that a heavy thing was dragged away. The ox was slain by horsemen, and later his body was haunted by and later his body was haunted by and later his body was haunted to the fire, but the hobbit was not seen. He was not in the open, for it was night, and still had his elfin cloak. He was exhausted and hungry. It is not to do, and it was not to be wondered at that. When he said cut his bone with the knife of his fallen enemy, he resisted and ate a little before he crept away. But it is a comfort to know that he was some lambas in his pocket, even though he ran away without gear or pack. That perhaps is like a hobbit, I said he, though I hope and guess that both Mary and Piping were here together. There it is, however, nothing to show that for certain. And now do you suppose that either of our friends came to have her hand free? Asked Gimli. I do not know how it happens, answered Aragorn. None do. I know why an orc was carrying them away, not to help them to escape. We may be sure. Nay, rather I think I am now being to understand a matter that has puzzled me from the beginning. Why, when Bartlemy had fallen, were the orcs content with the capture of Merry and Pippin? They did not seek out the rest of us, nor attack our camp, but instead they... cara, já tô ruim de leitura. They did not seek out the rest of us, nor attack our camp, but instead they went with all the speed toward Isengard. Did they suppose they had captured the ring bear and his faithful comrade? I think not. The master would not dare to give such plain orders to orcs, even if they knew such themselves. They would not speak openly to them of the ring. They were not truthful servants, but I think of the orcs had been commanded to capture hobbits alive all on a cost. An attempt was made to slip out with their precious prisoners before the battle. Ah, mas tá isso daí. Ficar falando assim em voz alta no ar-condicionado não dá certo não. Acho que eu não consigo ficar durante muito tempo no ar-condicionado não. Mas aí galera, isso aí foi um trecho da leitura do Senhor dos Anéis, do Lord of the Rings. Esse trecho é muito interessante, porque no filme do Peter Jackson, apesar dele ter conseguido, eu acredito, no melhor possível de adaptação dessa cena, do Gimli e do Legolas junto com Aragorn, tentando decifrar, tentando deduzir a partir das pistas que eles estavam enxergando, tanto da pisada, das gramas na terra, e também dos farelos das lembas, e também de como estava mexida as terras, porque eles perceberam que teve uma guerra ali. É muito interessante ver um pouco que o Peter Jackson conseguiu fazer, mas não tem comparação a capacidade do Tolkien de conseguir fazer com os personagens. Eles são muito inteligentes em deduzir as pistas que estavam ali para entender o que aconteceu, como o Pippin e como o Merry foram levados junto com os orcs, porque os orcs pensavam que aqueles hobbits estavam segurando o anel, só que não estavam. Muito interessante. Então é isso aí, pessoal. Isso aqui foi mais uma live interessantíssima do Ed Felipe lendo The Lord of the Rings in English, the original language.